Great. Okay, so welcome to our monthly webinar. This time we are organizing a webinar together with our good friends at Optimising and Just Uno. And this time it will all be all about conversion optimization. Well, first of all, I would like to say that we welcome, sorry, this is going a bit too fast, that we welcome your questions, which you can ask by using the panel on your right-hand side. You don't need to wait until the end of the webinar, so you can just ask whenever you like. We will answer all the questions at the end, though. If you missed a few things during the webinar, don't worry, because tomorrow morning we're going to post this on our website. You can just visit SEOshop.nl, click on resources, and go to the webinars. And alternatively, you can also find it on our Facebook page, which will also be tomorrow morning. So last but not least, we'd like to invite all of you to interact with us during this webinar and also after the webinar. And you can do so by using Twitter, and you can find us at SEOshop. Well, before we dive into the topic, I would like to introduce today's speakers. My name is Bertram Meelink, and I'm Marketing Manager at SEOshop. I will be hosting this webinar with Sarah at Optimising and Corey at Just Uno. So for those who don't know SEOshop yet, I'll do a quick introduction. This is SEOshop about a year ago, when the team was still a bit smaller. SEOshop was started in 2008 by Ruud Stelder and Dennis Kuipers, who initially created the online store software to sell their own products. And this became such a success that it basically made them believe that they could sell the software to other online merchants as well. And they chose the name SEOshop because the software was highly optimized for search engines. Well, in 2010, the platform already had more than 50 integrations with payment providers, shipping companies, and several marketing tools. And in the same year, SEOshop also launched the template editor that allows customers to update the HTML and CSS files of the stores, which basically allowed them to make custom designs for their stores. Well, in the years after, SEOshop also launched its own API, so developers could build on the platform. And this way, SEOshop could also work together with developers who wanted to build new integrations and sell them to our merchants. Well, currently, we are a market leader in the Netherlands, and we have a strong presence in the German-speaking countries. And this year we are expanding further into the European market, and the goal is actually to become the #1 choice for online merchants who want to start an online store anywhere in Europe. Actually, I have to go one step back, because this is actually the back office where you can manage your store. Our platform has more than 150 integrations, all localized for the European market, with 14 languages and an integrated order management system. So you can basically do anything. You can basically manage your entire online store online with SEOshop from your back office. Well, we have more than 8,000 customers in the Benelux and German-speaking countries, not just smaller ones, but also a few really big names, including brands like Philips, Dance for Life, Fairphone, and the Van Gogh Museum. Well, so that's a short introduction on our platform for those who don't know us yet. Today we're talking about conversion optimization, as I said before. And before our experts of today will share their knowledge, I will start with a really quick introduction. So first of all, what is conversion optimization actually? Well, a conversion basically means that someone who visits your online store will complete one of your goals. So for instance, if you have an online store, a conversion can be a visitor turning into a customer by buying your product. Other goals can be a subscription to a newsletter or a download of your manual, for instance. Well, these conversions are generally expressed as a percentage, so you may hear the term conversion rate more often. So most people will see conversion optimization as all the activities that aim to increase this conversion rate. Well, there are several tools that can help you in tracking your conversion rate. The most famous tool is Google Analytics. And if you are an SEOshop customer, you can easily connect your online store to Google Analytics. The only thing you actually need is something called the UA code. And if you're not really familiar with that, this is actually explained in our online manual, which you can find at support.getseoshop.com. And for the Dutch customers, that will be support.seoshop.nl. Well, other factors that are important to track are the bounce rate and the average time on site. Bounce rate, in case you're not familiar with it, it's actually the percentage of people who came to your store but immediately left without visiting any other pages. So a high bounce rate can actually tell you that your site is not considered relevant to the user. There can be many different reasons for that. For instance, your site content may not correspond with the keyword the user typed in Google. Or maybe your Google AdWords ad confused the user and didn't really connect to what was written on the site. The average time on the site basically tells you how long your visitors are browsing through your site. So it tells you whether your visitors find your site interesting or not. Well, other things that you shouldn't forget are traffic, which is the number of people visiting your store. The quality of your visitors, meaning are your visitors actually relevant for your store? Or are they maybe just looking for something completely different? And lastly, which is very important, is the order value, which means how much are people actually spending in your store. So why is all of this actually so important? First of all, well, there is a lot of room for improvement. You will see that by just changing a few small things, you can actually already earn a lot more money. Secondly, paid search will keep getting more competitive, as you probably already realized. More and more merchants are using services like Google AdWords, so it's becoming harder and more expensive to win customers there. Thirdly, split testing software is now highly affordable. Split testing tools like optimising, they basically tell you which changes brought in the most customers. So later on in the webinar, Sarah will actually tell you a lot more about this. And my last point is, if you basically manage to convert 2% of all visitors into customers, it still means that you didn't manage to convince 98% of your visitors. So basically, there are also tools to help you in that, and Justuno is one of basically I find one of the best ones that can help you with doing that. They basically help you to reach out to those 98% of visitors who are not converting on your site, and try to get them back to your site to still buy something there. So Corey will definitely tell you a lot more about that later during this webinar. So for those who now think that improving your conversion rate is really hard, I actually have some good news. Because for instance, if you want to increase your homepage's conversion rate by 25%, which sounds like a lot, you would have to make just a really small improvement to just a couple of aspects of your site. So in this example here, if you change 10 aspects of your website, the improvement is actually 2.27% that you have to basically improve. So it shouldn't be as hard as you may think. Here I listed a few things that you could change in your online store. Pictures can generally make a big difference. Obviously, pricing, special offers can make a change. And even navigation and written text have a really high impact on your conversion rate. So if you start to test with those elements, you can really see a difference, and you can actually make that 25% increase in your store. So now that you know what you can change to optimize your conversions, the next question is, how do I test and measure all of this? Well, there are many tools for this, so I'll quickly go through the options to give you an idea of what they can actually do to help you. First of all, there's web analytics software, and as I said, the most common one is Google Analytics. It's very popular because it's free of charge if you only use the basic features. And web analytics software basically tells you how people got to your site, where they click, and how well they convert from visitors into customers. Then there is A/B and multivariate testing software. The most popular software in this field is optimising. So I'm sure that Sarah will tell you a lot more about this in a minute. But for now, it's important to know that A/B testing, or also called split testing, allows you to test two completely different versions of a web page and see which one performs best. So that means that the system will randomly show version A and B of the page to your visitors, while you can see which one converts best. Well, multivariate testing means that you're testing variations of a page. For instance, you can create separate variations on your homepage of your headline and images. So in that case, you're testing variations on a page instead of testing two separate pages. So that's the difference with A/B testing. Again, I'm sure that Sarah will also dive deeper into this. Then there is a mouse tracking software. This software will follow the moves of your visitor's mouse. And the aim of this is to judge your usability. So how do people see your website? Do they find it user-friendly or not? And actually, can they find what they're looking for in your site? So examples of companies offering this service are Clicktail and Crazy Egg, for instance. Then there is on-site feedback software. On-site feedback software basically asks people questions on your site or in your online store. So you can, for instance, show a pop-up screen and ask customers why they are not making a purchase. So examples of this software are Usabilla, and Qualaroo is also a really well-known company. Real-time on-site personalization takes it one step further. With this software, you can make your online store look different based on the person visiting your store. So that means that you can highlight certain products based on the interest of that person. iCunomy is one of the companies that offer this service. Then there are store and product reviews that allow your visitors and customers to leave feedback. You can then show this feedback in your store, so your visitors can hear from existing customers how you perform. In the Netherlands, there is a company called Kio, market leader in this segment. And at SEOshop, we also offer an integration with Yotpo to show product reviews. Actually, if you're interested in these services, we also wrote a blog post about this on our website, and we list all of those companies as well. So in case you didn't quite catch all these names, they are on our site as well. Then we have one more, which is called click mapping. Click mapping is actually pretty much the same as mouse tracking. And Google Analytics is another company that offers that partially. But companies like Crazy Egg and Clicktail are actually taking that one step further. The last one is abandoned shopping cart software. And it allows you to contact visitors of your store who have placed something in the shopping cart but didn't complete the order process. So they put something in the shopping cart but didn't complete it. What you can do is you can then send them an email and convince them to complete the purchase, or ask them why they didn't complete it. So that's what this software is doing for you. In March 2014, there was an article that was published on our website, frankwatching.com, again a Dutch website. And it discussed the topic conversion optimization. And it mentioned research done in the Netherlands and shows how much Dutch retailers are familiar with the term conversion optimization and which tools they actually use. But as you can see from this research, most retailers are using it to some extent, but there are only a few heavy users. So the tools that are being used are Google Analytics, which I mentioned a few times already. Store and product reviews are quite popular, and shopping cart abandonment software. So what this research is basically telling you is that at least your competitors, if you're a Dutch customer of course, they are not testing enough yet. So you can really get ahead of your competition by starting now. So how comes not all online merchants are using testing software? Well, the first reason is that online selling is actually still quite new to many retailers. Especially the traditional retailers find it very hard to really grasp the online market. And then there's also the fear that testing can actually cost a lot of time. So many merchants just follow the census or look at competitors when they change their website. Because of this, they will actually never really learn why something works or will never work for them. So yeah, again, there's really a lot to win. And lastly, there's a lack of knowledge of the possibilities of testing and the available tools. And that's the reason why today we've invited our partners, Optimising and Just to actually tell you more about this. So I have one more slide before I actually introduce Sarah at Optimising. And it's titled, Where do I start? So in my opinion, the first step is being sure you want to optimize your conversion funnel. It may actually seem obvious, but do realize that you need to have the knowledge and also the time to invest in the project. So there is obviously some knowledge and time needed. Then you need to decide if testing is the right thing for you. As I said before, there are merchants who just change things based on their competitors. So if you do this, you will never really learn how your visitors and customers behave in your online store. So this learning element is very important for future improvements. And that's why I believe everyone should actually test. So when you know you want to test, you need to decide what and how you want to test that. So step 3 is choosing the right software. And then when you know what works, you can optimize your conversion funnel, save money on expensive ads, for instance, and use that money again and also the time to further optimize your funnel. So yeah, basically this is my short step to conversion optimization. And that's it for me actually. So many thanks for your attention and obviously enjoy the rest of the webinar. And I would now like to introduce Sarah, and I'm gonna unmute her. There we go. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Bertram. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Are you sharing my screen yet?
I am going to do that now.
Great, thank you. All right, so hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Downey. I work in business development here at Optimising. So if you guys are not familiar with Optimising, what we do, we are a website optimization platform, and we provide various tools such as A/B and multivariate testing. So if these tests are new for you, Bertram kind of covered some of it before, but if some of these tests are new for you, it's basically testing several different versions of your web page against one another in order to see which has the highest conversion rate. So everyone likes wine. So it's kind of like having the same wine, but with a different label, and then the sales, or your conversion rate, are going to tell you which is the best for your audience. So SEOshop kindly invited us to join the webinar today because A/B testing is one of the most effective ways to get started with your conversion rate optimization. So for today, what I thought I'd love to do is share with you guys some great and easy lessons that we've learned about conversion optimization through A/B tests. So the first of these stories is about fab.com. If you're not familiar with them, they're an e-commerce platform. Users can buy and sell apparel, home goods, all kinds of pretty designed things. So they had originally designed the add to cart button that you see in this bottom left-hand corner. They'd originally designed it to go really well with the design of their site. So they thought it was sleek, it was simple, you know, they thought their users who are into design would love this. But, you know, they come around to thinking about their conversions, and someone came up with an idea, and there was a hypothesis generated that maybe adding a larger button would actually lead to an increase in conversions. So what they did was they ran 3 different experiments. So they had the original, they had variation A, which showed add to cart with a bigger button, and then they had variation B, which had just the plus cart. So still simple, but a little bit more descriptive. So they ran this. Each of their visitors was bucketed into one of these experiments. And what they actually saw, they had really great learnings from this. So this test had a major, major impact on their add to cart clicks. So variation A was the winner, and that's where they had the larger button with the clear call to action, and that was able to increase their conversion rate by 49%. So there's a 49% increase in adds to cart. So that is a huge number, and that was just a really easy test that they were able to set up. And so from this test, we have 2 key takeaways. The first of which is there needs to be a balance between the design of your page and the usability of your page. So the first button fit really nicely with the design of their page, but it didn't present a clear direction. So testing was actually able to prove that the button that maybe doesn't fit so well with the design, but has the clear direction, actually outperformed the original. And then the second takeaway that we can have is that data-driven development can really lead to impressive performance lifts. So they had a hypothesis that the more clear button would increase the conversions, but there was really no data to back up that theory. So A/B testing the hypothesis allowed them to gather real data, and they could support it and actually justify making that change to their site. So the next example is also about the importance of buttons. So Stanley Black & Decker is a brand that I think most people are familiar with. They make power tools and construction type things. But so, they had an internal discussion, and this is their product page before. So it says buy now, and there was an internal discussion about changing the wording on that button to say shop now. And they went back and forth on it for a while, couldn't decide. So what they did was they turned to Optimising and decided to run a test on that button to see if it was worth actually making that change. So what they did was they ran 2 different variations to, I believe it was 100,000 of their site visitors. So they ran pretty big tests, lots of traffic. They really wanted to get that result quickly to know if they were losing out on conversions. So what they actually saw was that the original variation A, which was buy now, they actually had 17% more people were clicking on that button than when they changed it to shop now. So what they were able to do was save themselves from making a change that would negatively impact their conversion rate. So they were able to really catch themselves before they made that mistake and before it was too late. So those 2 examples really talk about the importance of buttons, but there are a lot of other things that testing can be used for too, so it's not just all buttons. So one of the biggest things that we hear at Optimisely is about people's site redesign. So people want to make changes and they're not sure how to go about making those changes, and testing is a really great way to see if it's worth the time and the investment into making those actually redesigning your site. So the design of your page can have that huge impact on overall conversions. So again, I'm going to talk about Black & Decker, so Black & Decker on the right-hand side, you can see here that they have all these product recommendations. And what they thought about was they were thinking, okay, do we need to redesign our site? Because they had read a lot of research about users, that users tend to look at pages in a Z formation, so that it's best to have your call to action in the lower right-hand corner because that's where a user's eyes naturally will end. So what they did was they set up a test where they moved that recommendation bar to the left-hand side so that the Buy It Now button was more towards the right where the user's eye trail ends. So they ran this test, and they actually saw that there was absolutely no change. So they did not need to change their site. Users were clicking on the buttons in the exact same way and continuing on in the exact same way as they had previously. So what we were able to tell from this test is that it's really important to know your own audience. It's important to not take what other research has told you before as the complete truth. Everyone's audiences are different, and Black & Decker was able to learn that, hey, their audience really didn't care so much about where that button was. That wasn't a huge factor as to how far over it was. So what they were able to do here was save themselves a lot of time, a lot of money, and just a lot of man hours by not redesigning their page and not moving reformatting the layout of the page. Cool. So then the last one I'm going to talk about is a brand called VeggieTales. I'm not sure how many people here are familiar with VeggieTales, unless you have kids, but they are a cartoon of little vegetables. They're for kids. It's some cute little thing, but they have an online shop, and online you can buy videos, you can buy games, clothing, a whole bunch of different products. And so VeggieTales was really, really eager to get their conversion rate raised. So what they did is they ran a number of different tests across all of their site to see what has the biggest impact, what increases the conversion rate the best. So one of the tests that they ran was based on their homepage. So as you can see here, their homepage used to have a free shipping banner. Now, everyone thinks, hey, free shipping is great. That is how you're going to get users to convert. People love to get things, for free. So, but what they actually were really interested in was to see if maybe making the social buttons that were underneath the free shipping banner, if making those social buttons bigger and more prominent on the page would lead to an increase in, for them, they thought of that as brand confidence, because they have a really active social community. People share things to their pages. There's a lot of activity there. So they wanted to build up that community even more, and they hoped that by presenting that community to their users from the get-go, right from the homepage, that the users would feel a little bit more confident in shopping with VeggieTales because they know that so many others have been confident in it before. So what they did in this test was they went ahead and removed that free shipping banner and made those social icons a bit bigger. So they were, nice and big, really visible on the site, and they ran this test, 50% of the traffic to each variation. And what they ended up seeing was that the winner was definitely the one with the larger social buttons. And they saw a huge jump in not only the number of followers, but also they had a 36.8% increase in the revenue per visitor just by removing that free shipping button box and adding that social button stuff in. So through testing, they were really able to have data that backed up that hypothesis, and that allowed them to then dedicate the development resources to making those changes permanent on their site, and really being able to keep growing the business. So what I would love to do, I've talked a little bit to you guys about some different tests that you can run using Optimizely, but what I'd love to do is show you guys how easy it actually is to run your own tests using Optimizely, because I think that's one of our biggest missions here at Optimizely, is to bring testing available to everyone. So what I'm going to do now, and hopefully everything cooperates, is I'm going to actually do a live demo of the Optimizely platform. So I'm going to actually use the SEOshop, our gracious hosts. I'm going to use their site. So what we can do here is, in order to get your test started with Optimizely, you simply copy the URL for the page that you want to start on. You're going to go over to our home page, and you just paste that right in, and you click Test It Out. So now what you guys are seeing on your screen is SEOshop's homepage right in our editor. And as you scroll around, you see these blue boxes. And the blue boxes identify unique elements on the page where you can begin to make some changes. So I talked a lot about buttons today. So what I'm going to do now is show you guys how easy it is to set up your own button test. So let's try it on. This appears to me, looks like the main call to action. They want people to get started with SEOshop. So we're going to click on the element we want to make a change to, edit the element, and we'll just edit the text. So let's say, get started. We'll save that. And now what we need to do is we need to set up a goal. So we'll click on the element again. We're going to track clicks on the call to action, create a new click goal, and we'll call it get started, tracking clicks, and we'll just click save. So now what we have is we have the original version with the create your store now, and we have the get started. And all that's left to do is actually implement Optimizely. So the first time that you want to work with Optimizely, you need to put a snippet of JavaScript into your header of your page. And from then on out, you can run all of your tests simply by clicking this Start Experiment button. So I'm really glad that my internet cooperated with me. And that's how really easy it is to get started with Optimizely. So what I'd love to leave you guys with now is just a few other testing ideas that we have to get you kind of thinking about different things that you can test. So one thing that we find really interesting is maybe testing your product sorting. So see if you can sort by popularity or sort by what product brings you the highest margin. The whole point of conversion rate optimization is to see if you can increase your margins and increase your profits. So see if you can, if by putting the products with highest margin at the top, does that boost it even more? We talked a lot about social with the VeggieTales example. Maybe see if adding a tweet button to the order success page, let people start talking about your site and talking about the great things that they've just purchased. You can test different product image themes. So we've seen a lot of people test, try testing with pictures with models or without models, or images versus videos. You can try 360-degree pictures. There are all kinds of things that you can do with those photos. And then finally, what you can do is, if you have a mobile version of your site, run tests that are different on mobile versus on web. Your users on mobile are very different, so it's always interesting to see the different situations and test and figure out what works there to boost your conversion optimization. That's really, and you can use Optimizely also in order to test your mobile site. So those are just a few ideas that we have, but there's plenty of other information available online at Optimizely. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. It's just sarah@optimizely.com. And yeah, so thanks a lot, Bertram. I think we're going to go over to Corey now.
So I always like to open with these few questions. What are your social media goals? Just go ahead and jot this down, or at least say it in your own head. What are your social media goals for 2014, and what channels do you plan on using? Do you plan to have a broad outreach via social media? You're going to be on Pinterest and Instagram and, of course, Facebook and email. And also, what kinds of promotions are you comfortable with? I repeatedly will work with people who say they don't discount or say they don't do any sort of couponing or promotions that involve discounts, but nearly everybody I can find examples of them using discounts as a strategy. So what kind of promotion are you comfortable with as a retailer? Now, of course, there are other ways to use Justino beyond a simple social incentive exchange for social action in exchange for some sort of discount or offer, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So if you could, next slide please. Justino really solves two problems you might have. One, you have to grow your social audience somehow. Time and time again, I see these traditional e-retailers where they say, okay, we've had a successful business for 10 years now online. We want to get into social now because we think that's going to be the future. Where do we start? And the first thing they do is they go ahead and they open up a Twitter account and an Instagram account and a Pinterest account and a LinkedIn account. And all of a sudden they've got 10 different social channels that they have to manage. when in fact they don't really have to do that. We actually recommend starting slowly and building out each channel by focusing on the content that you're providing through each channel. Also, the other problem Justina solves is you have to get people to click through and pay for your services and products. So how do you do that? We do that through something we call social incentivizing. At its core, social incentivizing is asking someone, a website visitor, to perform some sort of social action in exchange for something, whether that's a discount, free shipping, some free corporate swag, or even access to gated content, for example. So next slide, please. Now, there are a lot of people spending an exorbitant amount of money on driving people to the website. Some typical inbound efforts: spend money and then spend some more money. SEO and SEM, of course, traditional online advertising like pay-per-click, pay-per-million, email marketing, social advertising, and even retargeting, which is increasingly important. Next slide, please. But these are some things you might even be employing today, some on-site efforts to convert. There's usually a sales or deals section on a site. The people have been doing that for 15 plus years. Of course, coupons and discounts on sites like Retail Me Not, cart abandonment emails. We're actually big fans of Optimizely. I know Sarah was just speaking to Optimizely, but the A/B testing for Optimizely has really helped our own website. So I do encourage you to take a look at Optimizing services. And of course, things like loyalty, which is more about repeat visitors, and things like live chat, which is capturing the attention and helping somebody while they're on site. These are some of the typical on-site efforts that are happening today, but these are still, they fall short of grabbing that 98% and converting them. These are really about people that are already about to buy, and what we want to do is capture those window shoppers. Because as you grow your addressable audience of eyeballs on your products and services, you will earn more revenue. So one thing I always like to ask, and if I could go to the next slide, please, is, what are you doing on your site to, that's creative, funny, or, somehow engaging, that convinces that person has come to your website to continue receiving information from your company. So we like to think of our Justuna bot, which is that little green man you see there. It's kind of like a salesman on your site. He's there based upon the behavior on site. He will then reach out to you and say, hey, are you interested in these products or services? Would you like a discount to check out now? So that's essentially what we're trying to do, automate a little bit of that attraction, a little bit of that converting to a fan, follower, or email subscriber so that you can remarket to them. So I'll show you how that's done. Next slide, please. And so I'm going to go ahead and, Bertram, if you could maybe give me the controls so that I can then walk through.
Sure. Let's see if this works. Does it work for you? Can you?
Okay. Does it look like I'm in control right now?
It seems like it.
Okay, so we should be looking at my website, Just to Know.
Nope.
Nope, okay. Looks like we're still looking at the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Do you want me to go somewhere?
If you could give me controls of GoToWebinar, I'll give you some examples. So just go ahead and pass the controls to me. I'd appreciate it.
You should have those.
Okay, so do I have to accept it? Because I'm still seeing the slideshow that. Okay.
Shall I just show you a screen again? Because this can be on your screen. Right?
So, yeah, so yeah, I'd like it to be on my screen here in California,
Exactly.
please. Okay, thank you. So it's best to really just take a look at some of these examples and see exactly what Just Do Know is. Of course, we wouldn't be, we're practicing what we preach here in our example here. On Bon Jovi. Oh gosh. So this is an example of one of our customers. I'm sure you've heard of Bon Jovi. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll notice a 10% off your order. Bon Jovi wanted to grow their mailing list, and we were able to grow their mailing list at 4 times their normal rate of fan acquisition. So they were receiving a few hundred fans a month through just kind of having a submit your email address on the website. But what we were able to do is to attract more people to become a fan by using social incentives on their site. So that is just one example of how it's done, and you can get quite creative with Just Do Know. So let me go ahead and enlarge this one. Let's hope that. This is an example of a fashion brand that is using Just Do Know successfully. And you can see Just Do Know there on the left, a little, I mean, who doesn't like French bulldogs? But the goal here was to get them to become a Facebook fan or a follower on Instagram. So this particular fashion company was using social incentives, a way to really capture the attention of the visitor and also encourage them to check out then and there. Of course, you can get quite seasonal as well with Just Do Know. This is one of my favorites. Sloths, really popular these days apparently. But this is a company that we've helped get over 100,000 fans on Facebook and thousands upon thousands of email. This was one of their holiday offers. Click to save, and of course you can also compel them to share after they've liked your brand. But this is social incentivizing at its core. At its core, it is getting someone to perform a social action in exchange for something. Now, that something can be anything, and we like to encourage our customers to be pretty creative with what they do. So let me go ahead and give you a couple more examples so you can just see it live. And so one of the things we pride ourselves on is the flexibility and creativity that our system allows. There are a couple of generic pop-out boxes you see out there in the app stores, which are largely just, essentially they look like a coupon on your site. If you wanted to do something more creative with your social offers, what you're going to want to do is customize it and match your branding to your site. So the example here, we're actually, for some reason, hugely popular with millennial companies. So we have a lot of companies that are brand new companies that are starting from near zero with their fan base, and they're using Just Do Know to accelerate that fan growth, going from 1,000 fans to 10,000 fans to 50,000 fans over a year. And they do this using Just Do Know social incentives. Now you can, just as an example, you can do things like gifts. I think that's a kind of a unique angle. Let me show you what that means. You can see there on the right, there's Just Do Know on the Just Do Know site. Now we actually have a brand new site that we debuted yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we actually used, of course, Just Do Know in GIF form on our homepage, so you can have a scrolling banner of some sort with the offer, and then compel them to actually become a fan or follower. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch back. Now, Bertram, if we could go ahead and switch back to, let me show you a couple more examples just of some Dutch sites. I guess that would be of interest to you. This right here is one of our Gestuino users. Learned that courting actually means discount, I believe. Seen that enough times to have figured that out. But you can see that you can hide it. It can be quite in your face, or it can be very sublime as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pop-out. You can embed this directly in a web page so that it is not a pop-out. So these are just some examples of companies that are pop-out. I like this one with the sleepy fellow over here. Just wanted to show you some of the SEOshop users that have been using Gestuino. But currently we have, I believe, in the hundreds of sites that are from SEOshop currently using Gestuino. So lots of things that you can do with it. And these are just a couple of what I would call basic examples. You can get quite creative with it, embed it directly into your site, and of course make it match your branding so that it meshes well with the customer experience. So with that said, Bertram, again, I apologize for the tech issues that we were having, but I wanted to switch back to the slides. If I can go ahead and pass.
Yep, sure.
Okay. Can you claim it from me, or do I have to pass it to you?
No, I can claim it. Let me just check. There we go. You probably want to go to the next slide, right?
Next slide, please. Okay, so I wanted to wrap this up with some general comments about social channels, what you should use. You know, concentrate on the channels that you're going to use, because it doesn't make sense to have 7, 8 different channels, social channels, if you're not going to be regularly posting content to them. Now, you can use tools like Hootsuite to efficiently post to multiple social channels. We personally use HubSpot, which we think is a great tool. Hootsuite is another great tool, and of course there's several out there. But concentrate on the channels that you're going to use and make those channels effective. I always recommend start simple. Start with Facebook and, of course, email marketing. Now, the best channel, believe it or not, is email. Email marketing is still, and it's almost making a comeback to a certain extent, but if you think about it, one of the most intimate things a consumer can do with a company is to share their email address. And share that email address with a company that they don't know is really kind of saying, hey, I trust you. I trust that you won't spam me or sell my email address. And so when somebody gives you their email address, that's a request to engage, if you will. Now, number 2 is the gorilla in the room. That would be Facebook. Facebook has the second best converting social channel. And I say social channel, and I lump email into that as well. And that's really because, you know, email in a certain sense is a way to communicate, and therefore is a bit social. It's not a social network software program, but it is social.
It's 8 o'clock.
So we have several different channels you can take advantage of, but the best converting channels are email and Facebook. All the rest float around 2% conversion rates for the lifetime value of the customer. And that is to say, if you get 100 fans on Instagram, about 2% of them will convert into sales over time. So it is important to build those social channels, especially if you're in fashion or some very visual kind of industry. But concentrate on email first, followed by Facebook, followed by Twitter, and the rest, depending on your own company's target market. And again, Pinterest and Instagram are great for visual products like fashion or anything that's really cool. I do recommend there's a video online called The Problem with Facebook. It's important to understand exactly how Facebook's algorithm works, how it filters the news feed, and what it means to have promoted posts versus organic posts, and how that affects your reach to your Facebook audience. Next slide, please. I'll just quickly kind of go over some of the benefits to using social incentives. We're going to cut out the middlemen, that is the affiliate vultures and the daily deal vultures. I'm sure you remember daily deals. They kind of came and went, and now you can control your own offers on your own site. And that's really important when you don't want certain companies, outside promoting companies, cutting into your margins. You can determine what your margins are, set the discounts appropriately, and that's all you pay. It's a flat fee for just doing a service. The most important thing about using social incentives, though, is the fans. Now, there are no greater fans that you can get than the ones that are already on your site looking at your products and services. So if we are able to capture that 98% and just convert a handful of them every day and keep filtering them in, keep funneling them into your Facebook channel, your email channel, you're going to convert more of those people because these are people that were already looking at your products and services. So the best fans you can possibly get are the ones already on your site. So we're going to help you convert those people into eyeballs that you can remarket to. Of course, Justuno does help with reducing shopping cart abandonment rates, and there is a fast ROI with Justuno as well. And then most importantly, you want to grow your audience naturally. I get hit up on Twitter via various social channels. Grow your Twitter audience by 5,000. Buy 10,000 Twitter fans. Don't ever do this, please. One, these are garbage fans that don't really mean anything to your bottom line, so it's a waste of time. But two, really you should be doing natural growth, because if you've got natural growth, you're going to have natural interactions with your social channels. And those social channels, you want them to be real. You don't want a post to go out to 10,000 people and 2 people like them. You'd rather have 5,000 fans and to get 100 likes out of that particular post, just as an example. Next slide, please. Okay, we took a little bit a look at Justuno. You can create a free account today. There's no charge, no credit card needed, but you can go ahead and play around with the system. Since we're running a little bit late, I'd like to maybe skip the walkthrough and really just kind of wrap this up with any questions there may be about social incentives. And of course, I did create a promo code for SEOshop users for 20% off of Justuno if you wanted to jot that down. But feel free to reach out to me at Corey@justuno.com. Again, I apologize for the technical issues, but I will be sure to answer any questions that you have if you just go ahead and shoot me a quick email. Feel free to reach out to me via phone as well. But beyond that, I just wanted to generally talk about social incentives, and I appreciate your time. Bertrand, I'm going to hand it back to you.